Hey, what's up guys, it's Nick too, and today I wanted to put together a list of the 5 most overpowered builds currently in Borderlands 4 that absolutely obliterate the game with ease, including at least one build for each Vault Hunter. So if you guys are looking to make a new character, you have a pretty good idea of what build you want to aim for. None of these builds will be taking advantage of anything bugged or broken, such as like infinite bleed stacking, groundbreaker, infinite melee scaling, bugged guns. None of that bullcrap, so you don't have to worry about setting something up and then it getting hit by the inevitable nerf bat. I've also made dedicated videos for each and every one of these builds, so if you want a full breakdown, including a written build guide, I'll have them all in the description. Before I get into the video, I want to give a big thanks to today's sponsor, War Thunder. War Thunder is by far the most robust vehicle combat game on the market and is available completely for free on PC, console, and any mobile device. In War Thunder, you can control over 2,500 tanks, helicopters, planes, and even ships from 10 major nations, with my favorite vehicle being the biplanes of the 1920s era, but there's a ridiculous amount of options ranging from the last 100 years. The gameplay here is super immersive with highly detailed vehicles, realistic graphics, and crispy sound effects, but it's also buttery smooth to play with it being heavily optimized so you're always getting the best performance possible regardless of what you're playing on. Keep in mind, War Thunder is a PvP game with a community of over 95 million players where you can engage in epic large-scale vehicular combat, and there's multiple different game modes, including my personal favorite, the arcade mode, which features super fast-paced matches with enhanced vehicle performance for that high-intensity gameplay that I love. Make sure to sign up by using my links in the description or in the pinned comment. It's free on PC, mobile, PlayStation, and Xbox. If you're new or returning after 6 months, you'll get a huge bonus pack across PC and consoles containing 100,000 Silver Lions, 7 days of a premium account, the exclusive Eagle of Valor decorator, and a ton more. Keep in mind, it is only available for a limited time. Big thanks to War Thunder for sponsoring today's video. Alright, let's just get into it. These will be in no particular order, by the way. Maybe I'll make like a build tier list at some point, so if you guys are interested in that, just let me know down in the comments. But starting off with number 5, we have Ricochet Rafa, which is overall Rafa's best build. This build takes advantage of the Peacebreaker Cannon's action skill using the double auto shot augment, which is going to turn those cannons into shotguns, allowing their bullets to ricochet all over the screen and benefit from massive damage increases such as asymmetric warfare and errant spark. Our cannons will also benefit from any increases to gun damage that we get, and that's where the build really starts to get insane, is when you get the Dancer class mod, which is going to give your overdrive bonuses 100% increased effect. By default, overdrive just gives you 25% movement speed and 10% increased damage dealt, but when you have the Temerario node, which counts as an overdrive bonus, you stack up to 50% gun damage after 10 seconds, which then, when we pair with Soldado, which is going to double our overdrive bonuses after we get a kill, and then also our class mod, which further doubles it again, and then we get even more points into Temerario from our class mod, you can end up getting over 300% increased gun damage, which is not only going to apply to you and your guns, but also to your cannons, which is basically just going to make your cannons complete weapons of mass destruction when you're mobbing, but you're also going to get such a massive damage increase yourself that you can just nuke bosses with ease, especially when you use the Bullet Buddy augment, which is going to give you literal infinite ammo for 8 seconds after using it, which pairs perfectly with pretty much any gun that shoots stickies, since you'll be able to stack up a ton of those stickies and then blow them up for giga damage melting bosses. For mobbing, however, I like to use the Instinto augment paired with some nodes in the skill tree so that we can have our cannons up 100% of the time and never really have to worry about losing them, because if they do fall off, we end up losing all of our overdrive bonuses and then we'll kind of have to wait a little bit to fully stack those up again. So I'd prefer to avoid that, which is why I have this skill tree set up in the way that I do, so make sure to check out the build link. The Hot Slugger Legendary Shotgun actually pairs perfectly with this build since it benefits from a ton of different nodes in our skill tree, making it do ridiculous damage and ricochet bullets that one-shot everything on the screen. Overall, this build is a complete beast for both mobbing and bossing, not to mention you'll be flying around the screen too with a ton of movement speed increases, and with the right shield, you'll be basically unkillable. Next, we have Nuclear Winter Harlowe, which has quickly become my favorite build to play in the game, just because it is so much fun. This build sports unbelievably high damage for both mobbing and for bossing, with insane fire rate and effectively infinite ammo, but it also happens to be by far and away the best build in the game if you're playing in a group. The way that it works is the Nuclear Winter augment within the green skill tree gives you and your allies bonus cryo damage whenever they are inside the flux generator. And this additional damage is actually going to count as action skill damage. This means that we can use the excited state node in the tree, making the next shot on an enemy a guaranteed crit if we damage them with an action skill. Because our gun is technically doing bonus damage which counts as an action skill, this makes every single one of our shots a guaranteed critical hit, which by itself is obviously insane, but if you use the critical funding node paired with this, whenever you do land a crit, you not only then instantly entangle the enemies, which is strong for a lot of reasons, but you also refill a portion of your magazine. If you use something that shoots multiple projectiles per shot, such as a shotgun, this gives you literal infinite ammo, allowing you to completely nuke bosses and mobs alike. A lot of our damage, however, is going to come from the capstone group study, which turns our flux generator into this little halo buddy that flies around you and bubbles you with a buff that gives you increased gun damage, fire rate, and reload speed. And every few seconds, you can actually reactivate the buddy to increase the bonuses that it gives you, basically having it stack up. But this is also going to make the duration of the buddy go away faster. On average, you'll stack this up to about 4 to 5 times, which will give you a total of 125% more gun damage, 100% fire rate, and 150% reload speed, which applies not only to you, but also to all of your teammates and even their minions, which is pretty funny, making them just complete and total gods. We can also sustain our buddy's duration with our class mod, the Bio Robot, which is going to give us points into sustained reaction, where whenever we kill an entangled enemy, we restore a portion of our action skill duration, but we can just constantly have our buddy up even if we have it at like 5 stacks. If you stack it up too many times though, the duration rate starts to scale way too high and we're just not able to keep it up anymore. You can do this on bosses for like very high burst DPS, but for mobbing, you want to keep it at a comfortable 4 to 5 stacks, and with the class mod, you'll be able to keep it up infinitely. Every enemy that we shoot is going to be entangled instantly, so we get tons of extra damage and synergies against them as well, and we're always just going to be getting that action skill refund on kill. Another cool part about the build is that you'll have literal infinite shields because of the distribution function node in the tree, which is going to give you shield when you damage enemies with an action skill. This pairs perfectly with a shield that's going to give you amp, so whenever you have full shield, you just like drain a little bit of it, but then you'll instantly get that back, which is going to basically just give you like double damage all the time, and it makes you pretty unkillable too. The best gun paired with this build is the bod, since it is arguably the strongest weapon in the game in my opinion, and it's going to scale off of any increase to any gun type, since it counts as all guns. It usually has a pretty low mag, which we circumvent due to our infinite ammo, and it heavily benefits from increases to fire rate as well, which we're getting a lot of. Theoretically though, you can use pretty much any gun you want with this build and have a pretty good time. I just really love using the bod. It feels great and the damage it provides is completely disgusting. If you want a gun-based build that makes you feel like a god while buffing your teammates into the stratosphere, this is definitely the build for you, and I honestly can't overstate how much fun it is just shredding everything with the bod. While we're on the topic of the bod and how insane it is, let's talk about Bloodshot Vex. This build does ridiculously high damage with her guns, and it actually doesn't even use bleed. I decided to kind of stay away from bleed entirely when setting this up due to how bugged it is right now, but when they eventually do fix bleed, this build will become even more powerful, which is pretty crazy to think about. The way this build works is entirely based on the Undead Eye class mod, which says whenever you kill an enemy with a sniper rifle, your next shot will trigger a bloodshot, or when you critically hit an enemy, you have a 33% chance to trigger a bloodshot. Bloodshot is a buff that gives us a multiplicative damage bonus to our next gunshot based on how much total health we have, and it also is going to convert all damage into kinetic damage, meaning that you can use like a shock weapon or pretty much any element and it will then deal kinetic damage, which ends up being pretty good. Bloodshot effectively makes you just do a ridiculous amount of extra damage, especially because we're using the Timekeeper shield, which is going to give us a ton of extra health to further scale our Bloodshot. Because each shot has a 33% chance to proc Bloodshot if it is a crit, if we use something such as the bod, which shoots 5 projectiles per shot, every single shot is basically guaranteed to make our next shot a Bloodshot. And this works because the bod counts as all weapon types, including a sniper, making it literally perfect for this build. As a result of needing to land crits, the infamous crit knife is of course extremely good for this build, but you can alternatively just like actually land headshots and kill stuff perfectly fine, or you can take advantage of the COV enhancement, which makes your gun fire guaranteed critical hits whenever it is overheating. This works pretty well with a range of COV guns, and the bod can even roll COV on it as well, but ultimately using the crit knife is just the path to least resistance and will be stronger pretty much every time. For mobbing though, you don't really need to land crits since every single kill will make your next shot a bloodshot, allowing your bod to literally just 1D everything on the screen because it's hitting for upwards of 500,000 per shot, which is just unbelievably satisfying. Outside of Bloodshot, we just have some pretty much like generic kill skill and damage related things in the tree, and we are then going to proc all our kill skills on bosses guaranteed because of Mortal Terror. We're going to be using the Incarnate action skill as well because the Blood is Power node gives us a ton of extra damage based on lifesteal, and we're going to get extra lifesteal when we're in Incarnate through Essence Leech. We also gain the Augment Witchy Trigger Finger, which effectively makes it so you like never have to reload and gives you a juicy stacking gun damage increase, which is great for mobbing too. We can easily stay in our Incarnate permanently due to Grave Sustenance, and because our lifesteal is so high, we are effectively unkillable as long as we are just shooting at enemies. This build is a crazy amount of fun and is arguably better than any bleed setup because it shreds bosses in just a few bullets, making your kill time actually faster than bleed, and it works significantly better when mobbing. This build can technically use like any sniper as well, but honestly, nothing gets better than the bod. Next up, we've got the one-shot Dragon Breath Amon, which as suggested, can pretty much kill anything in the game in literally one shot. And if a boss somehow survives that initial hit, no worries, because you can end up doing even more damage after the initial hit, up to 50 million damage per dot tick. This build primarily utilizes the Dragon's Breath node in the skill tree, giving us up to a massive 200% increase in damage on our next shot after using an ordnance. This damage will be dealt as incendiary damage, therefore also applying the fire status effect. Because we gain so much extra damage for just one shot, we really want to like juice up this one instance of damage as much as possible and use the highest damaging thing that we can, which is going to be the underbarrel shotgun mod, Spread Launcher, which just deals crazy damage in just one shot. We pair this with Amp on a rep kit for another 200% bonus damage, and an Amp shield for 100% bonus damage on our first shot, along with, of course, the crit knife. You pretty much pop all these bonuses, shoot out your spread launcher, and boom, bosses die in literally one shot. But if the boss is particularly resistant to fire and somehow lives the initial hit, we can then use our Forge skill to detonate the mob, which is going to hit for millions and millions of damage due to the Force of Nature augment, which reads that whenever we damage an enemy with our gun while we are in our action skill, we will prime them. If we hit the primed enemy with a melee, a forge skill, or they just die, they will then detonate and deal a percentage of the gun damage that we dealt to them. So we are effectively like storing damage and then re-popping that damage as a detonation once we activate our forge skill. And this damage is actually going to double dip off of all of our multipliers, namely like status effect damage, fire damage, etc., which is going to make us hit for insane numbers. For mobbing though, our goal is also to one-shot everything, which is made easy with none other than the Hot Slugger shotgun, and if you couldn't tell by now, shotguns are pretty good in this game. This thing just does crazy damage and it synergizes very well with the Dragon's Breath when mobbing. We can also take some points into Berserk, plus there is only red to give us a massive bonus in overall damage whenever we simply just kill enemies after using our Forge skill. This will be stacked up basically all the time because every kill will refresh the duration by a full 9 seconds, so you'll never have to worry about it pretty much ever. Amon's biggest weakness is typically that he has to make a weird decision between like, do you want to do good boss damage or be good at mobbing? And with this build, I think we get the best of both worlds, allowing for disgusting boss damage output while maintaining quite good mobbing with fast clear speed, namely due to the Hot Slugger and its ricocheting nature. And last on the list, we have another Harlowe build. I decided to include 2 Harlowe builds because I just absolutely love both of them, and they are each ridiculously strong for kind of different reasons. Neutron Capture Harlowe is not only Harlowe's best build, but in my opinion, the best build in the entire game. The damage on this build is completely disgusting, allowing you to instantly kill pretty much anything you want with all sorts of different weapons. And keep in mind, you can do this without abusing any bugs and even without using the infamous crit knife. You'll of course do more damage if you use the knife just like every other build in the game would, but all it'll really do is make your boss kills go from like 2 seconds to 1.5 seconds. Outside of the insane boss DPS, this build's mobbing is absolutely godlike as well, being able to instantly melt an entire screen of enemies thanks to the Katagawa's Revenge sniper rifle, filling the screen with lightning balls of death that annihilate everything, and giving you your Chroma Accelerator back in just seconds. Bread and butter of this build is the Chroma Accelerator Augment Neutron Capture, which transfers a portion of the damage dealt by Chroma Accelerator into bonus radiation damage onto your gun. This means that any bonuses that we get to, say, action skill damage, radiation damage, elemental damage, etc., will apply to both the initial damage dealt by our Chrome Accelerator, but also the damage that we get from neutron capture, effectively allowing us to double dip off of tons of damage. This bonus damage is going to be the same regardless of what weapon we are using, so the best way to take advantage of it is with a weapon that fires very fast or hits enemies a ton of times per second, because every single one of those hits will be applying that juicy neutron capture damage. With the Skeptic class mod, anytime you damage an enemy that has a status effect on them, you refund 5% of your current action skill cooldown. Because the Katagawa's is shock, it will pretty much instantly shock enemies and basically immediately refund your entire cooldown, allowing you to just spam your Chroma Accelerator to your heart's content so you always have that damage up. This build requires extremely little gear to actually get to work. There's a lot of different class mods you can use, honestly. So much so that I actually played this build starting from level 5, and it's probably the best leveling build in the game. And you're just gonna have a great time with it overall. It technically works with pretty much any gun too. Some guns are of course going to be much better than others, but you really don't need much to get the damage as high as it is, allowing for some of the fastest boss killing in the entire game, as well as by far the fastest clear speed and best mobbing in the game, thanks to the power of the Katagawa. Alright, that's going to do it for the list. I hope that you guys enjoyed. If you did, please make sure to drop a like and subscribe, as it took an enormous amount of time to put a video like this together. If you want to check out any of the builds, make sure to check the links down in the description. And if you guys want a dedicated tier list video, etc., make sure to let me know in the comments and I'll start working on that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Don't forget to check out War Thunder on PC, PlayStation, Xbox, or mobile, and if you're new or returning after 6 months on PC or consoles, you can get juiced up with bonuses using my links in the description or pinned comment.